Hello, my name is Thiago Tempo, and in this video I'll talk about the basic types of TypeScript. I'll demonstrate the syntax and what those types are. To start, let's declare a new variable, and I won't declare any type or assign any value to this variable. You may realize that I'm using the keyword let to declare this variable. You may use var if you like, but let is one of the new features of ES6, and it will help solve some of the problems when dealing with variables in JavaScript. If you are interested in this subject, I have produced a video talking about let and the keyword const. This video is using JavaScript and ES6, but the way it works in TypeScript is the same. But back to this example. Because I declared this variable and did not explicitly indicate its type, nor I initialized it with a value, TypeScript understands this is a variable of type any. Any, as you might guess, can accept any value. I can assign a string to it. Next, I can assign a number, a boolean, or an object. And why is any good in TypeScript? Well, any is good especially when you are migrating old code from JavaScript. In JavaScript, many times we use the same variable for different things and in different ways. The any type helps replicate that behavior. But don't go crazy and start using any everywhere you're not sure about the type. There are many times when you can replicate the same behavior with the use of more complex types, like union types or even generics. I just won't talk about those in this video. Just keep in mind that there is a type any, and it really replicates the same behavior existing in JavaScript. But what if I'd like to indicate the type of this variable? Well, the syntax is very simple. I just have to use a colon and tell the type I want. There are a few types in TypeScript, but the three most common are string, boolean, and number. So I can declare this variable as a string with colon string. If I do that, later in the code, I cannot assign any other values different than a string. This is definitely the main reason why TypeScript exists, to add strong and static typing to JavaScript. In the same way, I can declare a variable as a boolean or as a number. TypeScript, much like JavaScript, does not have a differentiation between integers and decimal values. A number is still a number. But we don't always need to declare the type of the variable. If the variable is declared and initialized with a value, the compiler can infer the type. So if I just declare a variable and assign a value to it, and then I mouse over the variable, I can see its type. And this is exactly the same as declaring the variable with the type in front of it. Personally, I don't declare the types when I don't need to. I use as much as I can the help the compiler can give me. In TypeScript, we also have arrays. To declare an array that can accept any value, I don't need to do anything, because a variable of type any can of course accept an array with any values. If I initialize a variable with an empty array, the compiler will infer that this is an array of any values. If I add just one value or different values of the same type to the array's initial value, the compiler will infer that this is an array of that type. For instance, I'm initializing it with different numbers so the compiler understands this is an array of numbers. If later I try to add a string to this array, the compiler won't let me. Of course, that's not the only way to declare the type of an array. I can do it using the colon. I just have to type colon and the type of the array and brackets. I can also declare the type using the generic version and the type between angle brackets, but I prefer using the square brackets. I think it's more concise and clean, but it's your choice. Both will work the same way. One good thing about declaring the types is that tools can provide a lot of help. So, because I declare this as an array, when I type the variable name and dot, I see all variable methods of an array. Same thing if it was a string. I type the name of the variable and dot, and I can see that there's a substring method. VS Code even provides some description of the method and the arguments it expects. Talking about methods, let's see how TypeScript works with functions. I'll declare a function called add that expects two arguments, x and y, and I'll return the sum of those numbers. Now, after each argument, I'll add a colon and say that they are of type number. Now, if I mouse over the function's name, we can see that the two arguments are of type number and the function itself is returning a number. That's because TypeScript inferred that this is the type the function is returning. If I don't return anything, it will say that this is a function that returns void, which is the same as saying no value. Or I can return an array with the values, and of course, the compiler will understand that. If I wanted to declare explicit what I want to return, I can just add a colon and the type I'm returning. So I say I want to return a number. And because I'm returning an array, the compiler is complaining. So let me fix that. Again, it's up to you if you want to declare the return type explicitly. I like to use the compiler to do that. And of course, when calling the function, I need to pass the correct types of arguments, otherwise it won't compile. The next type I'll talk about is Enum. Many languages have support to enums, and so does TypeScript. The way to create an enum is to use the keyword enum followed by its name, curly braces, and inside it the possible values for the enum separated by a comma. Next, to use it is just like any other type. You can declare a variable or an argument of a function with the type of the created enum, and when assigning the value using the enum, we can see that we have autocomplete for the available values. The final type I'll talk about in this video is tuple. Tuples are great when you want to pass around more than one value. Let's say a function that needs to return some computed number and some text describing it. We can do that by declaring the type with square brackets and inside it, declare each type of the tuple. In this case, I want to return a tuple with a number and a string. There is no limit as to how many members a tuple can have. A tuple in the end for TypeScript is just an array, with a specific type for each member. So returning this value is the same as returning an array, as long as the correct types are respected, otherwise the compiler will complain. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.